Definitely wasn't pretty, but did it need to be? Bigger things at play than the final score. The Blue Bombers begin the 2024 preseason with a 24-12 loss in Saskatchewan. I'll correct myself. 25-12 loss in Saskatchewan to the Rough Riders. How you doing, Schnitzy? Feeling good?
I'm feeling great, buddy. Nothing to wipe away the stink of a last-second Grey Cup loss than watching some preseason games.
Yeah. Hey, we got lots to get to on the show today. We're going to do all the things that you who have been here before know and love. Walby's Warrior, Westwood's Wide to the Right, the TSN, no, the Bonfire Burning Point. We'll have the Happy Honker Award as well in homage to the late, great Cactus Jack Wells, the CGOB, and Game Balls from Schnitzy, from yours truly, and your comments. Great to see everybody in the live chat. Thanks for coming back for a third season of Game Day After Dark. Fourth season, can you believe it, Schnitzy, of Blue Bombers coverage here on Bonfire Winnipeg. So excited for that. If you guys missed the pregame show, go check it out after you're done watching us live here on Game Day After Dark. Initial impressions, Schnitzy, as we get things going here for 2024.
Well, it was nice to see Strevy again, but other than him going 7 for 8 for 65 yards, it was pretty ugly, buddy. I think it was over 137 yards of penalties. Just it was a flag littered field for the Bombers. The backups left much to be desired, I felt, buddy.
Yeah, I you have to agree. It was kind of sloppy, ugly football. And I tweeted this during the game. There's two things coaches hate, and I emphasize hate, to see from rookie players, young guys trying to make the team. Two things they hate. Number one, turning the ball over. We will talk about quarterback Eric Barriere and a forgettable outing. Unfortunately, it won't be forgettable for the rookie Blue Bombers quarterback hopeful. The other is taking undisciplined penalties. Look, a guy can take a offside penalty and be like, whoops, I made a mistake. But when a guy takes an unnecessary roughness or a stupid retaliatory penalty, that's not just, oops, I made a mistake. That was stupid. Be better.
Yeah.
Those two things, no question, are what the Blue Bombers coaching staff are going to look at, and it will carry a lot of weight when it comes to them making their decisions and, seeing who either gets, as Chris Walby says, an apple and a roadmap, see you later, flight home, or who gets a lot of the game action in the second preseason game, which is 10 days away. That's an eternity of training camp time.
Yeah, I agree, Darren. There's a few penalties that I think that's kind of the story of the game is the sloppiness from the Bombers. I know it's a preseason game, but you'd like to see the guys better situationally, right? That's what the coaches are looking like. What did you do in the situation that you were presented with? Did you, did you make a big mistake, or did you play smart? They want to know what do you understand the rules, especially for these Americans? Do you understand the rules? And when the lights are on, do you implement the rules, or do you go off script and, like you said, cost your team with a unnecessary roughness penalty, or are you offside on a second and goal, which that Witherspoon guy was, which that can really cost you.
Yeah. I loved Phyllis's comment here. Great to see you, Phyllis. Welcome back. Love it when those familiar faces pop back into the live chat. It was a fact-finding mission today. So whether CFL.ca or TSN says the score was 19-12 for Saskatchewan, it was indeed 25-12. Don't get me started. I could do a whole other show entirely on CFL stats and the cluster what that it has been over the last year plus. 25-12 was the final score. But regardless of the final score, it was as Phil said, fact-finding mission. Don't worry about the score. It really is what the Bombers saw on tape. And, Schnitzy, we're going to, the main story coming out of this game is who showed well, who didn't. and where Winnipeg really needs to identify guys to not just be depth pieces. Of course, that's going to be important, and that's what they're looking for. But some of those spots where they need a starter for week one, that could be weak side linebacker. That could be, and probably will be, starting boundary or field cornerback spot. Tyrell Ford, a Canadian's an option there. Tyreek McGee, I think, is, probably the clubhouse leader coming into this game. Did take that undisciplined, unnecessary roughness penalty on the Saskatchewan Roughriders' first touchdown of the game. I think it was their first, yeah. And Winnipeg needs to find a receiver, needs to find a kick returner. This is what's important coming out of this game, not the final score, not the specific moments, mistakes, what have you. It really is who popped off the page, who did their job. And for guys like me and you, Schnitzy, and everybody else watching there out there, that's hard for us to do on a, it doesn't matter what type of TV or internet broadcast it was.
Yeah. Absolutely. You want to know when the lights came on who brought it, right?
Yeah.
Who brought it? Who in high pressure situations, not in practice, not in training camp, but who in high pressure situations can bring it? And listen, you and Walby touched on it in the pregame, which you should watch if you haven't. Even if you have, watch it again. I mean, not only do you have the incomparable Chris Walby, you have this beautiful backdrop at the lake, right? But the big thing is this team, maybe unlike other iterations of the Bombers in recent memory, they had some openings. They have openings. There's some guys that they need to fill. There's some holes they need to fill, I should say, not guys. I'm in preseason.
Holes they need to fill with these guys, right?
With guys, yeah. You fill the holes with guys.
I knew
you know what I mean, buddy.
Okay, like we can maybe start at the most important position on a football field. No, not the referee. Quarterback. And, we saw Chris Streveler today go 7 of 8. Again, not great stats for us to look at. So normally, as we do every post game, you and me, Schnitzy, on Bonfire here, we'll get into the stats. We'll pull them up on screen. We'll show highlight clips of the game, highlights, lowlights, controversial calls. You'll see those in real action here on Bonfire and Game Day After Dark. Today, preseason, we're probably not going to do too much of that. We still don't have stats. I understand my contact at the Canadian Football League head office says those will be in place for the beginning of the regular season, but you know where to come to get video highlights, comment and analysis and all those great things here on Game Day After Dark. But we know Chris Streveler went 7 of 8 passing. And is he the most accurate quarterback? Is his arm going to beat teams? Probably not. And I'm being kind. I'm being diplomatic. But the guy looks just like the Chris Streveler everybody came to know and love. And for opponents of the Blue Bombers, fear. What do you see in store for Chris Streveler in 24? And hit the live chat too. I want to hear from you guys.
Dude, I got a strong take on Strevy. I'm going to say this right here. I know we don't want to look back, but I'm going to tell you, if Strevy had played in the last 2 Grey Cups, I think we win both of them. We lost the last 2 Grey Cups by combined 5 points. 5 points, both losses on the last play of the game. We were razor thin. That's how close we were. Strevy, and what he did today is what he does. He's not a backup quarterback. He's a 1B quarterback, Darrin. He's a 1B. He doesn't just go in on short yardage and the odd, gimmick play like Prukop had where he throws a bomb when Nick Dembski's one-on-one in coverage, right? He doesn't just do trick plays. He is an integral part of the offense. And you saw that tonight in the way he played. He's a change of pace guy. So Collaros is a drop back passer. He is a classic drop back passer. Streveler gives you something else that you have to prepare for in the RPO. You saw Streveler struggle with a couple of drop back plays. He doesn't have the most accurate arm. He doesn't, like you said. But today, after they went at the first drive of the game, the Bombers tried the straight drop back. It wasn't working for Strevy. So I'm not saying they gave up on it, but they went to his bread and butter, which is that change of pace RPO game, run pass option game, where as a defense, you have to be like, is Streveler running or is the running back running? Or are both of them going to run? Like one play where Streveler fakes it and then rolls out to the right and throws one to Augustine, which was a big chunk play. It's really hard to stop Chris Streveler and that type of offense, especially when you also have to prepare for Zach Collaros. So for me, it was really nice to see Strevy doing Strevy things just like he did in 2019.
Yeah, he is a very, very special player, right? Chris Streveler can do things nobody else can do on the football field. And they don't need him to be like Zach Collaros or like a Trevor Harris or a Shea Patterson, who, by the way, I was pretty impressed with him when he took over at quarterback for the Riders today. But Chris Streveler needs to do, in your words, Schnitzy, Strevy things. He needs to do what he does best, and that is to spell Zach Collaros. It's a word maybe not a lot of people are familiar with, but come in for a spell, come in for a moment or two. And we saw it with Dakota Prukop over the last couple of years here when Streveler was in the National Football League, where, it's second and short or third and half a yard. Quarterback runs, punches it for a first down, and you stay in. You catch the defense off guard. They're not knowing what to expect. What I think Winnipeg will do eventually this year, Schnitzy, you and I have talked about it over and over through the years here on Bonfire. You're never going to open up the playbook week 1. You're definitely not going to open up in the preseason, but you're not going to open up week 1, week 3, week 5. It will eventually open up. And when it does, I think Buck Pierce and the entire Blue Bombers coaching staff, quarterback room, really the entire offense film room, they have a lot of different options that they can do. Whether it's Kevin Clercius, the big physical receiver that they took in the draft, whether it's Michael Chris Ike, a big, super physical, chiseled out of marble running back the Blue Bombers took early in the 2024 draft, whether it's Johnny Augustine or it is Nick Dembski, or of course, reigning MOP, West Division, maybe the league, Brady Oliveira, or some of the explosive speed guys that they have in Dalton Schoen and Kenny Lawler, and maybe one of these young guys that can steal a roster spot and get into the lineup as a kick return specialist and come in on offensive plays like Janarian Grant did over the last number of years. They can do so many different things because of Chris Streveler, because of Nick Dembski, the Canadian Swiss Army knife. I call him that because he has so many tools that he can just kind of flick out really, really quick. So Winnipeg and Bomber fans, buckle up. This year, offensively, you are going to have a lot of fun as the games roll out. It's going to be awesome, in my opinion.
Well, and dude, like, what is more fun than seeing Chris Streveler one-on-one with a linebacker or DB, a DB even better than linebacker, and just trucking someone?
Yeah.
Like that, it just doesn't get much better than that if you're a Bomber fan.
Yeah.
Oh.
Some of the guys that maybe stood out to you for better or for worse.
Yeah, that's a hard one, Darrin.
Right? Yeah, I know.
One, maybe two guys.
I'll pull up the Bombers depth chart. This is their training camp roster. Okay. So this is the positionally everybody in training camp right now. Terry Wilson, especially late in the game. I don't know if people out there tuned out in the last few minutes, but he threw some darts downfield. That was fun to watch.
Yeah.
Really, really cool to see Terry Wilson do that. And as I'm doing this, I'm noticing, well, maybe you're watching on Instagram, new this year on Bonfire Sports. If you're watching on IG, head on over to youtube.com/BonfireSports. You can find links to everything, BonfireSports.ca. But find Bonfire Sports Winnipeg on YouTube, and then you get the full screen. You won't just get the vertical and, be kind of jammed up. But Terry Wilson, I thought, looked like the best quarterback not named Chris Streveler today. Eric Barriere, 2 interceptions. And Schnitzy, here's the thing. You and I were texting each other during the game. those two interceptions looked like the exact same play, the same right to left crossing route, the same Saskatchewan Roughriders linebacker playing that under coverage. And really Eric Barriere just kind of not seeing the linebacker, ignoring the linebacker, focusing on the window between the two defensive backs, and got picked off twice. That can't be good for his hopes to win this number 3 job in Winnipeg.
No, and sometimes, like interceptions are hard to judge. Like, it's like you've said, it's 4D chess, right? Like, is it he didn't have enough time? Was he rushed? Was he hit as he threw?
I
Did the
said that
receivers
2
run the
years
wrong
ago.
route?
I said
I still
4D chess
remember.
2 years ago, Schnitzy. You're still quoting me on that. You like that
I I like it, and Darrin, you know what? Everything you say sticks for me. I remember everything, everything you've said. No,
Oh, I've said a lot of stupid things to you, man.
yeah, you have, and I remember it all. But sometimes it's the receiver running the wrong route. For example,
Mm-hmm.
it didn't look like that. We were texting. It looked like he just locked in, didn't see the linebacker, threw it right to the linebacker 2 times, exact same play. You'd think like, okay, he's a rookie, he's an American, he makes a mistake the first time, but then to do it again, right? Because preseason is like, okay, if you're going to screw up the first time, you're going to learn from it really quickly, snap and clear, as Claris likes to say. Are you going to do it again? And he did it again. Plus, they had him, either it was designed runs or he was just getting happy feet, Darrin, but he cannot run. I don't know why he was running the ball, and I sure hope it wasn't designed because he could not run. He's not a Chris Streveler by any means. So I thought Barriere
He might
really
have been
struck.
running for his life.
Yeah, it looked like it. And, one time he actually escapes 3 different rushers from Saskatchewan and then runs into his own old lineman. He looks like he was just a deer in headlights there. But Terry Wilson, I thought he struggled at the beginning. I thought he was short hopping balls, throwing behind. But I thought as the game went on, I thought he started to do pretty well. Now, Saskatchewan probably had their third and fourth stringers in the fourth quarter, but he's a third or fourth stringer. So I thought he looked good. He had a nice bullet down the middle. He had a nice touchdown throw. The guy was wide open, but that takes composure to spot what the defense is doing. And Glacius, I don't know how he got behind coverage like that in the end zone, but I thought Terry Wilson was pretty composed, especially after being shaky to start.
Yeah. Comment here from, I'll pull it up again. Larry Ward, who's watching live on YouTube. What's going on, Larry? Has scouting lost its touch? Asks Larry Ward. We shall see. Keep in mind, okay, you're seeing guys that have never played in a real CFL game before. Many of them, some of them have, of course, but many of them haven't. And they're playing alongside guys that maybe haven't, against a real opponent, not a training camp opponent, real opponent on the road. And a team that's, guys are wearing helmets and pads, no guardian caps or anything like that. They're coming to hit you in the mouth. So don't read too much into it. Okay. And of course, you got to read into it some, but don't read too much into it. These games are not indicative of what Winnipeg will look like as a whole. And I don't know if Schnitzy, I think you'd agree with me in saying, is there a game that's more dynamic and important, the moving pieces working in synchronicity, working in concert together, than football, whether it's 11 or 12 guys all on the field going up against 11 or 12 guys on the other side of the field, and ensuring that everything is working as it should? I'm just saying, if you didn't like anything you saw today, take Gregory's advice, deep breathing on World Meditation Day. Great comment, Gregory.
Absolutely. It's really, really, unless you're a scout or unless you really know your X's and O's, it's really hard to evaluate players based on this game. I think Barriere, you can probably, Barriere, I guess his name is, I think you can probably evaluate him pretty confidently. But other than that, I mean, there were a couple of guys who made some boneheaded decisions on penalties and things like that, like McGee and Witherspoon and a couple other guys. But other than that, it's pretty hard to evaluate. I mean, if we're staying on the offense, I thought a guy that looked pretty good, except he fumbled at the end of the game. There was Tyler Adams. He was a receiver, 74. I thought him and Wilson had a nice chemistry going. and he had a few good catches down there.
Yep.
And it was nice to see Kevin Clercius. I think, what was he picked? What was he, 13th in the draft? He was one of the Bombers' high draft picks. I think he was their first draft pick. He had a nice touch.
was a high pick, and Michael Chris Ike was a high pick. Michael Chris Ike he's played American football 11 on 11 since he was, I'll just say, since he was a kid, right? I think he went to a prep high school in the United States, played his college in the NCAA as well, but very upright running style. He kind of runs like similar to Andrew Harris, at least the way Andrew Harris would run in the open field, very upright, where Brady Oliveira runs much more compact and down to the ground. Same with Johnny Augustine. But Michael Chris Ike, if you want to see somebody who's just an absolute physical specimen, I see Michael Chris Ike as being that guy. And of course, with Mike Miller, the killer, Mike Millie, as I like to call him now, because he's a coach, can't call him the killer anymore. Now the Blue Bombers special teams coordinator and retiring from playing football as the CFL's all-time leading special teams tackler. I think Michael Chris Ike is the guy that's going to be the Blue Bombers fullback this season. I thought Chris Smith did some good things today. Filling in at running back. Johnny Augustine, I mean, he's just as good as he has ever been. What a great 1-2 punch the Blue Bombers have with the reigning MOP from the West, Brady Oliveira and Johnny Augustine. This is Caden Banfield, okay? Played last season and will play this season for the Winnipeg Rifles junior football team, a team that I am honored and have an absolute pleasure to call their games and be on their board of directors. Those guys are all developmental guys that the Blue Bombers have the rights to, like their playing rights. You could name a dozen dudes. I won't right now, but it could, that are either in the CFL today, have had great CFL careers. Andrew Harris, of course, being a junior player, but Caden Banfield, somebody who is injured right now, not able to participate. Hopefully he'll be ready to go for the Blue Bombers' next preseason game. That's at home against the Calgary Stampeders in 10 days. But overall, I think quarterback we talked about, running back here, I think Winnipeg is going to be in good shape. I guess we could maybe move on to receiver.
Yeah,
well, those guys you liked.
Well, yeah, like Clercius, I don't know if he burned a guy or they just lost him in coverage in that late touchdown, but he had a touchdown, the only touchdown pass of the game, I believe, for the Bombers. And Tyler Adams, Case had a couple of catches. I thought he looked pretty good.
He had a nice return too. He was a teammate of Chris Streveler's at South Dakota.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
This is a player I really like, Myron Mitchell. You got the Manitoba Bison product, Winnipegger, A.K. Gassama. Jonathan Rosary was in camp last year. He was a draft pick from the University of Alberta. Has kind of been playing running back and receiver. But in addition to Cody Case and Myron Mitchell, I really like Isaiah Coulter. I really like, well, you mentioned Tyler Adams as somebody you really like. Aaron Cruikshank, I think, is, amongst the guys that could be a kick returner this season. I think he was pretty good on the field as well, offensively. This is a player who had a catch early in the game, Ontaria Wilson. I think he is amongst the leaders to win a job this year. This is the guy I've liked the most in camp, Josh Johnson. I talked about him on Game Day Winnipeg and the pregame show with Chris Walby. He did not dress or play today. I think he stayed in Winnipeg. He might be dealing with something nagging the body, that sort of thing. But he just looks, both physically and his movement on the field, like a star player. I don't want to say he looks like a star player, but he looks like he has what it takes to play at the professional level. I really like what I see from Josh Johnson.
And not the Josh Johnson who's up double zeros a couple of years ago, the DB, right? He's not a converted DB. He's a fresh player DB. And, some will wonder why they didn't keep a guy like Carlton Agadosi around. Maybe you have some inside knowledge on that. Because
I don't know if Carlton Agadosi signed with anybody right now.
Well, he went to the Argos last year and never played, but they need an American receiver to replace Rasheed Bailey, and who's it going to be? Maybe it's Ontario Wilson. He had a nice catch early in the game, kind of
Mhm.
a shoestring catch, but yeah, Josh Johnson is a name that I don't know how big he is if you know offhand, but he looks like a big body, which is something that they kind of I'd like them. I mentioned Agadosi because it's nice to kind of have different size guys out there that can do different things for you, right? Like an Agadosi is going to catch a touchdown fade throw or something.
Mhm.
Is if Josh Johnson is a bigger dude, that's good. That bodes well. It's hard to stop a multifaceted attack like that.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. When it comes to
Of course, I'm
Rasheed
right.
Bailey or a Carlton Agadosi, I like, and again, I've talked about this a couple times this year already. Fans are going to miss their favorite players, right? But the reality is in football, you have to find guys that are making league minimum, that are not veteran, to be the number 3 or number 4 receiver in your receiving core. Rasheed Bailey did so many great things for Winnipeg. He's a huge reason why they had 2 Grey Cup wins in 2019 and 2021. Um, but the reality is, Winnipeg's scouting staff needs to find the next Kenny Lawler, the next Dalton Schoen, the next Janarian Grant. That's what they need to do. And can Rasheed Bailey return kicks? Yeah, I'm sure he can, but so can Nick Dembski, and so can Johnny Augustine, and so can a handful of guys that are more core pieces to this Blue Bombers offense. Winnipeg needs to find, whether it's Ontario Wilson or Josh Johnson or Josh Van, or maybe it's another Canadian in Kevin Clercius, or Myron Mitchell or Cody Case or whoever. They need to find that next guy that can develop in year one, contribute as the season goes on and more towards the end of the season, and then be a breakout star like Kenny Lawler was before he signed the big ticket deal with the Edmonton Elks a couple years ago. Like Dalton Schoen did. Well, Schoen seemed to do it right out of the gate. He was pretty special. He is pretty special. But they need to find that next guy, and you can't keep everybody. It's a business. Salary cap for the players, salary cap for the coaches too. It's a reason why, Mike Miller's the special teams coordinator.
Well, yeah, that's an interesting move, eh? That Mike Miller, that was, I think Boudreaux Jr., the former special teams coordinator, was a little bit surprised, but that's another topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they need that fifth American receiver. I assume it'll be American. I'd be very surprised if it was a third Canadian receiver, but I guess you never know, eh? They did lose Brandon O'Leary Orange to the Argos as
Yeah.
well. So there's lots of weapons on offense, and you have to have the ball spread around to all of them. So you don't necessarily need a guy who's going to be a 1,000-yard receiver, right, Darren? You need a guy who maybe is going to get you 500 or 600 yards, make some tough catches,
That would
maybe
be
a possession
great.
receiver, right? Like yeah, I think you don't, and maybe a guy who can produce in the red zone, I would say,
Yeah.
um,
I think you just
like
want a
Bailey
guy
could.
that can be reliable and get better all the time, right? Like, you can't throw it at Lawler and Schoen and Dembski over and over and over again. And then Drew Wolodarski's going to get, he seems to be one of those guys that just has a huge game every couple games,
Yeah,
right? Where he's,
yeah,
sneaky good and possession and great hands and just steps in when Winnipeg needs him to. You need a guy that's just going to, well, similar to Rasheed Bailey over the last couple of years, right? Rasheed wasn't going to come back for league minimum when the Toronto Argonauts are going to offer him, 85,000, 95,000. I don't know. I don't know what they signed him for, but not league minimum. Winnipeg needs to find that league minimum, which, by the way, has gone up significantly. It ain't 50 grand like it used to be. It's $70,000 right now. So while the salary cap's gone up a little bit, 5.4 million per team, you have to still watch every single dollar. Yeah, they saved some with Jamarcus Hardrick signing with the Saskatchewan Roughriders, but they had to give raises to Dalton Schoen. They had to give raises to Brady Oliveira. That money is important. You have to watch it closely. So you can't stack every position group. I think Winnipeg
yeah.
has the 2 best receivers in the CFL. I think they have the best 1-2 punch with Lawler and Schoen. Tell me
No
2 better.
question.
I think they have the best running back. I think they have the best quarterback. Yep. So you're not going to be able to just stack the deck in every other position group, right? Oh, by the way, they might have the best offensive lineman too.
Yeah, well, they're. What did you think from the O-line? I mean, I know it's hard to evaluate. I'm sticking with offense here. I think Lofton got in Jamarcus Hardrick's position on right tackle. You had Dobson in on, I believe, left guard, which is where Jeff Gray used to play. You had Stanley Bryant in there a little bit. I think you had Okeke on left tackle. He came in for Bryant later in the game. Looks like a different dude. I am a different dude. I am a different dude. Comment. Of course, I'm looking good. Actually, Darrin, I'm not looking as good as you though. The hair is mid-season.
Well, I think I'm having a bad hair day. I'm a little. I got
I like it. You have way more hair than I do, buddy.
Fluffy.
No, we'll call you
it's
fluffy.
going away. It's going away. I won't show because
but mine's receding too, but I don't have the fluff like you do.
Speaking of hair, Janarian Grant. Robert Wiggins watching live on YouTube. What's going on, Robert? Thanks for joining us. What happened to Janarian Grant? Well, he's a free agent. Nobody has signed him. And he's not the only one. Chandler Worthy was such an electric returner for the Grey Cup champion Montreal Alouettes. He was so good. He stole Mario Alford's job, who was an all-star. I think he was Division all-star the last couple years at returner. And they traded Mario Alford to the Saskatchewan Roughriders because Chandler Worthy was so good. What happens? They win the Grey Cup. They go into free agency. Chandler Worthy, to this day, still a free agent. Janarian Grant, to this day, still a free agent. If you want to hear from Mike O'Shea on Janarian Grant, you can find his, I think it's day 1 or day 2 training camp or rookie camp media availability. You can find all of those on Bonfire Sports YouTube page. Go check them out. Lots of great interviews there too with, go check it out. Lots of good ones.
Oh, Dietrich Nichols, your interview with the Tarpaulin, your favorite guy in the league.
Tarpaulin. Yeah.
That's it's great because I'll put in a little plug for you, Darrin, because it's not often that you hear from guys like Dietrich Nichols because he doesn't put up the stats, but that's because nobody throws to him because he's so freaking good. It's nice to get him. I think it was about an 8-minute interview. It's nice to get his perspective on how hard he works and how he works and his philosophy and just the kind of guy he is. It's a really good listen.
Yeah, he studies like nobody's business. We talked about how a couple years ago I was talking to him at the Grey Cup. I think it was his rookie season, 2021, when they won their second Grey Cup, Winnipeg, and he knew everybody on every team. He's like 32 for Hamilton and 86 for BC, and this guy and this guy and this guy's fast and this guy's quick and this guy's fast and quick but doesn't look it, and this guy's hands. And I was just like, who's 32 on Hamilton? Like, you know what I mean? It blew my mind. And he talked about how that gives him an advantage and respecting the game. More people need to listen to guys like Dietrich Nichols, not because they are studs on the field, but because they provide a great perspective that maybe you don't hear everywhere. But that's what I'm trying to do here on Bonfire. And thanks to everybody out there who have been watching, clicking, liking, like hitting that like button. Awesome. Commenting on videos, either in the live chat or watching afterwards. Awesome. If you're listening to the podcast, thank you. That's awesome. Hit a comment in your podcast app as well. We really, really do appreciate all of that.
Absolutely. Last one on offense for me, DB, before I move on, I think. Chichinski, the quarterback. He's got good size. I think it's Jordan Chichinski, right? I think he's like 6'2", Jackson Chichinski. Yeah. He's what, a U of M Bison?
That's right.
What is he? Is this part of the player internship program, or is he like a legitimate player in training camp?
He is a Bison. I'm going to let you know in 1 second. Right now, I have got to play this Adam Bighill interview and enjoy. Adam Bighill starts the game on the 6-game injured list, but here he is a little bit earlier from training camp.
It's very planned, and but I mean, that's the way I like it. I don't do well being bored anyway.
Adam Bighill, here we are at the beginning of training camp. Before we get into the football stuff, how have you been? Back again for another season.
Good. I mean, this is the best time of the year. My kids, my family, they can't wait to be back out here. Competing is what I love to do. So, it's a good time of year.
A couple years now you've been in Winnipeg full time. How is that? You guys feeling settled in as Winnipeggers? Huh?
Yeah, no doubt. We've been here since 2019. So I guess this is going on year 5, and we love where we're at. We love our neighborhood. We love the friends that we make and we keep making. So, building my business here in Winnipeg is fantastic. I mean, couldn't be any better.
You've been very generous with your time too, doing stuff off the field. Why is that important for you?
Well, I mean, we have a platform, right? And to use it for good is my goal. So, making faces, I'm the president of that organization, which takes a lot of my time and a lot of my focus. But, I do work with, Ride for Dad, work for Children's Hospital, do, some stuff for Special Olympics here and there. I mean, as much as I can give, I enjoy to do different fundraisers, all that kind of stuff. So, at the end of the day, it's our community, and ain't no one going to come in here and save it for us. So, we have to, put in the work.
Good on you, putting in the work you are. And I was joking with you before we started this about when you're finding time to work out and keep the body in shape, but I've been told nobody really works out like Adam Bighill. When do you find the time? How is the body feeling?
Yeah, body feels good. I take it very serious. My whole routine in terms of training, sleep, nutrition, sleeping, all that, working out, all that kind of stuff. So, I'm up usually 4:30, start doing some reading, getting ready to go work out, and go hit workouts usually around 5:30 a.m. and then usually in the office around, could be 9 or 11, kind of depending on the day of, training and stuff like that. So, it's not a lot of free time in my day, that's for sure. Everything's very regimented, everything's very planned, and but that's the way I like it. I don't do well being bored anyway.
You've been in a dozen professional training camps. There's Adam Bighill in conversation with me from training camp a little bit earlier. And okay, I got a phone call, and I'm going to tell the story about this phone call, but here's a little bit more from Adam Bighill as I try to handle some business here. Hang on. Then you think back to those times where you were trying to make the team with the BC Lions?
Things are a lot different. Back then there wasn't as many rules on padded practices, time limits, how many 2 days you could have, how late you could go. It was camps over 10 years ago were a lot harder, no doubt. But the competitive level of each camp keeps getting higher just because of the nature of the edge that is getting so fine all the time. And, so I could say that for sure, that's very, very noticeable.
New defensive coordinator for you this year. Obviously, Richie Hall is still in the building and on the field and working with you guys. But what's the early perspective from you and the guys on Jordan Younger in his first year as a defensive coordinator?
Yeah, Jordan, JY, he's a good leader. He's a good student of the game. He just understands the game so well. He's learned from so many great coaches, played for so many great coaches, and he sees the game in a unique way. And it's very evident in the way he coaches, and he's been a big part of our success for the last 5 years, and for him to kind of take this next step is it's well deserved for him, based on everything that he's put in and done and proved, and so I'm happy for him, and it's a good it's a good feel for the locker room so far, and the defensive room, and he just sees the game, like I said, so well, and coaches the details so well. I think everyone just really respects that.
Does much change?
I think everyone wants to kind of bring in some of their own perspective. So I think JY, as we go, will have some wrinkles for sure, but we're not upsetting everything that we built here. So there's going to be familiarity for sure. But I think he has some unique twists that he wants to kind of put into things.
Yep.
Yeah.
Some changes in the defensive backfield. Obviously, no Jackson Jeffcoat and Malik Clements in the front of the defense. But is it nice that you do have that continuity? It's really been several years now of continuity.
Yeah, we don't have many positions we're trying to fill. With that said, you're always competing. It's been a very competitive camp. Some of these DBs coming in competing for some of these spots are, really showing out right now. Up front, some of the big guys are, really doing well. So, there's definitely competition. It's always kind of just fun kind of watch people take those next steps and kind of take those roles, right?
Kyrie Wilson struggled with injury a little bit over the last couple of years, but here he is in camp and raring to go. How is your right-hand man there in the linebacking core?
Yeah, no, all is good. Kyrie, we've been playing together for a while now. He's a fantastic player, and it's just great because every rep we have together, we learn from together. So that we've seen that, and we already know what we're going to do different. So it's been awesome to build that relationship because the amount of stuff that we don't have to say anymore is fantastic. So we play extremely fast. We know how we're going to handle complex situations without even having to talk about it. He can help fix things. I can help fix things, and it's and he's really taken on more of that leadership role too as well. Being more vocal and really demanding more from people, which is awesome.
I'll leave you on this one, Adam. So that's most of the interview I had with Adam Bighill a little bit earlier in training camp. I'll tell the funny story, okay? I'm out of breath because I just had to run downstairs. I live on the, third or fourth floor of this building. Ran downstairs to get this Amazon package I needed to sign for. You know what I did, Schnitzy? Total preseason move for me, okay? Are you there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm just quietly sitting in awe of your story.
You're quietly sitting in awe of me panting as I was running up and down the stairs. So I got a dog just before Grey Cup last year. And I'm out walking my dog and it starts raining. So I duck under the overhang of a building near mine. And then it starts hailing and I'm like, oh, everybody remembers the hailstorm just the other day,
yeah,
right?
Thursday.
And in St. James, it was, I've heard the worst in the city. And I tuck my dog under my arm and I grab my keys and I dart and I get into my building and I get upstairs and I dry the dog off. And I'm like, okay. 45 minutes later, where's my phone?
Oh no.
Do the Find My iPhone, can't find it. I'm like, oh, I better go retrace my steps. I know it fell out of my pocket, right? I found my phone under a literal pile of ice, maybe an inch of it showing. And if I didn't know exactly where I ran, I never would have found it. So
Wow.
had to order a new phone, ordered a used phone off of Amazon. And I guess that's a free ad for them, but they needed me to sign for it. And I knew they would come during Game Day After Dark.
Of course. I'm impressed that you even found your phone.
You mean I found a big, expensive plastic brick? Yeah.
So it was done for, eh? Too bad.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah,
where were we? You were asking me about Jackson Tuchinski, the Bison's quarterback.
Yeah, how he's in the mentorship program, correct?
Yes. So this is the second year that he has been in the CFL quarterback. It's like a U Sports quarterback mentorship program. There's a U Sports quarterback in every CFL training camp every year. And Jackson Tuchinski, I don't know if people remember, but Xander Tuchinski was his older brother, or is his older brother. He was a Winnipeg Blue Bomber for a very brief period of time, was on their practice roster for a number of years. He was a Winnipeg Rifle receiver and was a Blue Bomber as well. Jackson, just as athletic, playing quarterback, and he was huge in the East-West game that U Sports All-Star game had a couple weeks ago, led a fourth quarter, or I think it was overtime, scoring drive. He's a heck of a football player and really, really fun to watch for the Manitoba Bisons. I don't think we're going to see him. Who knows? Maybe we'll see him in the next preseason game at Princess Auto Stadium. I'm not sure, but pretty cool story regardless.
Mm-hmm. No, that's super cool.
So going back to the Blue Bombers offensive line, now that I've caught my breath a little bit, thanks for hanging in there, everybody. Oh man, how about that? I think I'm back. Yeah, penalty flag on Darrin. I'll take it. I'll take the penalty flag. No, no doubt. No doubt. This is what I wonder. Was I think I was muted for that whole story, so I didn't have to make anybody suffer through all of that, or maybe they did because I was.
No, I don't
muted.
think you were muted the whole story. I think just when you went to the O lineman, you were muted a little bit.
Oh, that's possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, yeah. No, I'll take the flag. I'll take the flag.
But you're never muted for me, buddy. You're never
I'm
muted
sorry about
for
that.
me.
I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I'm pulling up all the penalties here. Illegal procedure. Yeah.
You know, mute. You know, when you press mute, people can't hear you, right, DB?
Yeah, no, I do know that. I think it's when I switch to this that, oh no, didn't mute me this time. Anyway, we know that Tuieli and Liam Dobson are going to be back for that left guard spot vacated by Jeff Gray. We know Stanley is going to start at left tackle. We know Chris Kolankowski in an all-star season will be the starting center. And then next to Pat Neufeld at right guard will be Eric Lofton, who started a handful of games for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, coincidentally, last season. So a veteran with experience playing both left and right tackle in the CFL. He looks to be the guy. But, Chris Ivey is somebody who is pushing him. Chidi Okeke is another one. They're probably going to, one of these Americans. That's with the stars next to their names there. They're probably going to keep another one on the practice roster this year. Of course, injuries happen, all that sort of thing. But, offensive line is a tough spot to kind of assess, right?
Totally. I also was interested in knowing more about this Gabe Wallace guy. You didn't really see him play much today, I don't think, but he's a big dude, isn't he?
Yep. All those guys are big dudes. They're all 300 pounds, right? Yeah. Defensively, before we get into the Bonfire, Burning Point, Walby's Warrior, Westwood Wide to the right, the Happy Honker, the Game Balls, as we always do, let's quickly talk about the defense, Schnitzy, and maybe some of the guys that popped off the page for you tonight. We know Willie Jefferson is going to start at defensive end. We know that they need to replace Jackson Jeffcoat, who retired this offseason at the other defensive end spot. They have Jake Thomas and Cam Lawson at defensive tackle, but they need an American who can probably start and rotate a lot in the middle of that defensive line. Anybody you like today that got through the Saskatchewan Roughriders O-line?
Yeah. I thought Rivers had a nice push off the ball. I thought Garbett also. I think Rivers was the one with the sack today. But yeah, I thought they both looked pretty good. I thought Bridges. I mean, he got burned for that long one for the TD by a Jew, but right before that, he had a nice pass breakup. Who else looked good for me? Lawson had a nice tackle. So, I thought there were some decent pieces out there.
Yeah. I know one of your favorites is Tanner Schmeckel.
Of course. I hope Schmeckel makes the team.
Yeah. Well, he did last year. So
yeah.
Another development piece. Colin Cornelson, University of Manitoba Bison's product. Cam Lawson, for me, like last year we were talking about him, acquired via trade from the Montreal Alouettes alongside a couple other pieces. We talked about him last year as being the next Jake Thomas or the Jake Thomas heir apparent. I think he is already that. I think he brings, like Jake's a beast, right? Like hasn't missed a game since 2016. I was blown away when DT pulled that stat out and threw it at Mike O'Shea, a few days ago at training camp. But Jake Thomas and Cam Lawson, 1A, 1B as Canadian defensive tackles. Miles Fox was a BC Lion for a little bit last year and the year before. Joined Winnipeg last year, mostly on the practice roster, but he's somebody at defensive tackle. I think, maybe has the inside track a little bit, but some of these Americans that are new to the team and Woods and Ellis, and Sampson, Sampson is a draft pick, but, as you see there, the little hashtag sign denotes draft selection. So they're looking to really stabilize the inside of that defensive line. We know that the German beast that was Teodric Hansen no longer with the Blue Bombers. So one of those rotational guys. So who's going to help Willie off the edge? Celestin Haba was there last year. Garbutt, Taiwan Garbutt got to the quarterback, absolutely roasted the Rough Riders right tackle. Was not Jamarcus Hardrick, but the guy that stepped in for him, I think his name was Thomas or something like that. But Chauncey Rivers is somebody who has been very impressive in training camp as well. So Winnipeg has some options on the defensive line.
Can I just say one thing about the D-line, Darren? I saw a stat that Willie Jefferson, when Jackson Jexo was not playing, Willie Jefferson did not record a sack. That's how integral Jeffcoat is to the success of Jefferson. They're the two Jakes, right? I mean, and you got to replace that production. I mean, I don't mind them moving on from Jeffcoat. Really, I mean, he caught the injury bug. He was paid a lot of money, but if you can get a guy for much less money who can be healthy, who can help, take some double teams away from Willie Jefferson to free up Willie Jefferson, that's a critical piece that we need to assess in this preseason, buddy.
Yeah.
And it was nice to see a couple of ends get in on the saction. Not the action, the saction.
Like that. Trademark.
I made that up just now.
Just like the crumback that you coined.
Oh, yes. Uses. I started that.
You did.
I hope
right
I never
here on
Game
Day After Dark. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. So Winnipeg's linebacking core, I mean, I don't see them needing anybody immediately, right? I think they're going to be okay in the short term, knowing that Adam Bighill will miss some time, right? Adam Bighill will start the season on the 6-game injured list. But the reality is Winnipeg is going to rotate, Kyrie Wilson, Shane Gauthier, Tanner Cadwallader to a degree. And I don't know if they're listed. Oh, that's right. He's a defensive back. Here's the defensive back group, as you can see on the screen. There's Brian Cole as a defensive back. Last year, he was a linebacker, like literally started next to Kyrie Wilson. When Kyrie was the middle, Brian Cole was the weak side linebacker. What's he doing as a defensive back? Well, he's about 205, 207 pounds, and he could be that dime back spot. So we talk a lot about the dime back, the strong side linebacker. That's the same position, that it's not a linebacker spot. But if you are an undersized linebacker or a big defensive back, you kind of fit that hybrid spot that is the dime. Why do they call it the dime? I'll explain again, because people always ask. You
explain this every year too. You're a teacher, Darren. He's teaching us, people.
People keep asking me, so forgive me if you know this, but you got 2 cornerbacks, you got 2 halfbacks, and then you got a safety. That's your 5 defensive backs. That's a nickel. A dime is just your 6th defensive back. So the strong side linebacker is a defensive back. They cover the inside slot back. They cover the running back coming out of the backfield. They need to be a DB, but they also need to get their nose dirty in the box. That's, the trenches, everybody at the line of scrimmage. They need to get their nose dirty in the box, and they need to hit. They need to stop the run. So, Winnipeg is looking for that versatility, right? For Brian Cole, I think it's probably going to go back to that weak side spot while Adam Bighill is injured. Kyrie Wilson will be the middle. And then, Winnipeg has options at safety because Brandon Alexander hasn't practiced in training camp either. But we know that the 2 CFL All-Stars, right? The human tarpaulin, Dietrich Nichols, and it's because he covers everything, by the way, if you didn't pick that up. And the man with the greatest nickname on the Blue Bombers. Evan Holm. He's the white guy they call Homie. Love that. Holm and Nichols are going to be the halfbacks. And while Brandon Alexander is nicked up, it's going to be Nick Hallett at safety, Reddick Cramdy at the dime. But who are the corners? Because Winston Rose is not here anymore. And Jamal Parker, who took Winston Rose's job last year and started in the Grey Cup, he's on the 6-game injured list. And in the words of Mike O'Shea, he's going to be a while, which means could be the whole 6, maybe longer. So who are the starting corners for Winnipeg? That's a big question.
Well, you'd think it would be Ford and McGee, but we shall see.
Well, let everyone know who they are.
Yeah. McGee is 22. He's a defensive back. He stood out to me today for something. What did he do? He had a penalty, right, Darrin?
Yeah.
A necessary roughness penalty after the whistle.
Yeah,
it's not going to
touchdown. It was both of them. I think it was him and an offensive lineman for Saskatchewan.
Yeah. O'Shea's not going to like that, but from what I've heard, he's looked good in camp. You'd know better than I.
Yep. Tyrell Ford, of course, is the Blue Bombers' Canadian draft pick from a couple years ago. He was with the Green Bay Packers for the majority of last season. I think he got cut on the final day of training camp with Green Bay. Kind of waited around for another NFL opportunity. He told me his agent was expecting that to happen. It didn't. So here he is back, and he's kind of been working with the first team defense as the field side halfback next to Evan Holm. So is it Tyreek McGee? Is it one of these young newcomers? Demetrius Ford, Patrick Rogers, Bill Hackett, you name it. It could be any of these dudes. Juan Lua, I've been talking to some people that have been working with him down in California, giving him some advice and tutelage of the finer points of the Canadian game. Witherstone, I know you sent me a text about Witherstone.
Well, the Bombers had the Riders, I think it was their first touchdown drive. It was the first one after the interception by Barrier, and they were on 2nd and goal, and the Bombers stuffed them. But Witherstone had a costly offside penalty, DB, and those just kill you. Remember Donald Rutledge a couple of years ago when the Bombers lost in overtime. He had I believe it was his face mask over the line, but Witherstone was offside, and of course the Riders then got 3 free cracks at the goal line, and they eventually actually scored on the first try. But that's not going to. Those are penalties that don't have to happen, right? Those are mental mistakes, and those things can really cost you. And a guy like Witherstone trying to make the team, being offside on a critical play like that. I know it's preseason, but it was a critical play. We'll get to the burning point later, but because of those 2 turnovers by Barrier, they had the Bombers, in danger on their own side of the field. And you can't take penalties like that. Those are completely avoidable penalties. You have a thumb over the line, you have a hand over the line, you have a face mask over the line. They're going to call it, and it just seems like they often do. Like they don't miss those calls.
Yeah, I mean, you never know what led to it, right? And even in the preseason, when like there's 2 guys wearing 27 and 2 guys wearing 35 and 2 guys wearing this other jersey number, you never know if they even penalize the right guy, at least for what we hear on the broadcast or see in the stats, that sort of thing, if there were stats.
Well, there were some stats. It looked like the leading tackler on the team was Thomas. I don't know who that is, or at least at one point he was. No, on the Bombers.
Well, Jake.
No, was it Jake Thomas? Oh, maybe it was.
I don't think it matters because
But I guess my point is I wanted someone from the linebacking core to jump off the page because I'm concerned about Biggie. He's getting older. He arguably shouldn't have been in the Grey Cup. He was coming off an injury in the Western Final, DB. I know he works his butt off. He can probably lift more with his pinky than I can with my entire body. It's not a knock on him, but he's 36. He's a middle linebacker who's 36 who has a lot of wear and tear.
Yeah.
And they have to have someone in that middle, not named Shane Gauthier, who can step in and captain that defense and run guys down and strip guys. Like Biggie in his prime was something unbelievable. He's just
there's Hall of Famers, and then there's
yeah.
Adam Bighill.
Yeah. He was like a great white shark. He would just like bite your head off. It was an incredible physical force on the field. And as we know from some of your reporting and some of the articles by Ed Tate, he is the quarterback of that defense. So who is it going to be? And I hope that maybe in camp DB that you saw, or maybe in the next week, someone who's a tackling machine, who also has the cerebral potential of Biggie, can really step up, because I love Shane Gauthier, and he will forever be remembered and adored in my mind as saving the 2019 West Final when he tracked down what's his name?
The returner, yeah.
The returner on the Riders. I used to have a good memory for this stuff, but I've forgotten.
I think everybody remembers the play, though. Like, he just took the
play.
perfect angle from the opposite side of the field and just made a huge play to essentially save the game for Winnipeg. I don't know if they had gone to the Grey Cup that year for that.
No, the Riders would have tied the game at very least. And he's not the fastest dude, so he took the perfect angle and just made the play of his life. But I don't think he's a starting middle linebacker in this league. I really don't. He just isn't.
Maybe it's Dylan Moses. Maybe it's Trey Thomas.
Maybe it was Trey Thomas
Jeremiah
that had the tackles. Right? Yeah.
Maybe it's Michael Ayers. Maybe it's Lucky Ogbevan. Maybe it's John Patrician or Fabian Wheats.
And Ayers did have a nice tackle. I noticed he stacked, he squared a guy up really nicely.
Who's that?
Ayers.
Ayers, yeah.
Yeah, he had a nice tackle tonight.
Yeah. So, again, we'll see. These preseason games really are about just figuring out who has it and who doesn't. And very difficult for the coaches, let alone us just watching on TV, but even the people in the room to make those. Let's get into our features here on Game Day After Dark, even though it's still light outside. Love it, by the way. And before we do, thanks everybody out there for watching live, listening afterwards on your podcast app, watching afterwards, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We are live going right now. If you're watching on Instagram and you only see part of the screen, youtube.com/BonfireSports, BonfireSports.ca. You'll find links to everything, all of our social media channels. I think you'll even find a way to follow Schnitzy on Twitter, which you'll enjoy.
Yeah. At Zach Schnitzer. I was going to say Zach Schnitzer. Zach is my alter ego, Zach Schnitzer. Zach Schnitzer 48 on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. I think they're all the same now. Not that I use Instagram much, DB. I don't understand how to use Instagram. I'm glad we're on there, but you got to take a picture, and then you have to type in captions, and then you can add music. It's too many steps. It's too many steps.
Well, Bonfire is on every platform that you may get your stuff on. And as I said on the pregame show with Chris Walby, we are not on TikTok. You're welcome.
Yeah,
all right. So first things first, the Bonfire burning point, the moment in this game that changed the destiny of the Blue Bombers in their 25-12 loss, preseason week 1 in Regina against the Rough Riders. And I will start. It was the play of Eric Barriere. 2 interceptions on very similar looking plays, stalled out drives, was not able to keep the chains moving, even to get, some plays going. It's not about making big plays or making big throws. He just couldn't get into any sort of rhythm. And I think the entire Blue Bombers offense suffered because of it. Hey, quarterbacks, that's what's going to happen. But to me, that's the Bonfire burning point. I won't say Terry Wilson won the number 3 quarterback job today, but Eric Barriere made winning that number 3 quarterback job that much more difficult for himself through the next 10 days of training camp and into that final preseason game, where if both of those quarterbacks are still here, Winnipeg's really going to want to give a look to see who it's going to be, while giving Streveler some work, while giving Zach Collaros some work. I expect Collaros to dress and play in that final preseason game against the Calgary Stampeders.
Buddy, I'm going to have to agree with you. I hate to agree with you, but I'm going to agree with you. I thought the Bombers, for bringing a bunch of second and third and fourth stringers on the road to a hostile environment against many of Saskatchewan's first stringers, I thought they were hanging tough in the early parts of that game. But those two picks really turned the tide. I think Saskatchewan scored 10 points off of turnovers right there. First one gifted the Riders a touchdown. And I think from there, the Riders had all the momentum, racked up all the yards. The defense was on for way too long for the Bombers. And, plus the littering the field with flags didn't help. So I really thought Berrier's two picks really set them back. And that was the bonfire burning points, I guess. Couple of little points there.
Walby's Warrior, who went to battle today and maybe impressed some of these Blue Bombers coaches and scouting staff that have some tough decisions to make?
Well, if I could start, I actually thought it was Terry Wilson, DB. Like, I thought he started off a little shaky. The balls he was throwing were a little bit behind, a little bit on the. I think he short hopped a couple. So I thought, that's tough. You're really trying to make the team. The other guys set the bar pretty low. All you got to do is play okay to steal that third QB backup QB role. And I thought he was a little shaky, but I'm always impressed by guys who can snap and clear and that they can just move on and just keep playing the next play as well as they can. And I thought Terry Wilson did just that. He led them on a late touchdown drive. And folks, that's not garbage time like it is in a regular CFL game if you're down 19. It's not garbage time because the other guys are trying to make the team. It's your fourth stringers, third stringers against theirs. So I thought, to be able to be collected enough and calm enough and cool enough, as they say, to come back and put some drives together, I thought that was impressive for Terry Wilson, and he's my warrior.
I'll go off the board tonight and give Walby's Warrior to everybody out there who, even in the early preseason, is here watching Bonfire Sports Live. Schnitzy, nearly 600 people watching live right now across all of our platforms. That is just outstanding. Thank you, everybody. Hit that thumbs up if you can. Click. Appreciate it. That's my Walby Warrior. I think 63 himself, who I'm going to talk to either later today or tomorrow about the game. You'd be impressed. You'd be impressed. Mm-hmm. Westwood wide to the right. Our old friend Troy Westwood, the leading scorer in Blue Bombers history. And our segment from our old TSN days, Westwood wide to the right. The moment, the thing, the happenstance, the occurrence, the on and off the field, whatever it may be, in the stands, on the broadcast, whatever, you're Westwood wide to the right tonight.
Listen, we have a new special teams coordinator, DB, but it was the same old story. Allowing big returns. There were 3 big returns allowed by the Bombers cover team today. I know it's preseason. I know a couple of them were brought back by holding calls, but that's just one guy out of 12, right? They have to clean that up. You cannot be allowing teams to start on your 50 on midfield like they were last year. It bit them in the Grey Cup again. It bit them in the Grey Cup 2 years ago. It just drives me bonkers. And they have to clean that up, especially if their own returners are not going to flip the field, because nobody on our return game stood out. You cannot keep gifting teams 15, 20, 25, 30 yards or more on returns. It just, I just don't want to see it again. And I hope Mike Miller can clean that up. I know it's preseason. I know all these guys are not going to be starters on the cover teams, Darrin, but they've got to coach that up. They've got to get the right guys there. They can't be allowing those massive returns.
Yeah. I don't know if I have a Westwood wide to the right. I know a lot of people will draw attention to CFL Plus or the Rough Riders broadcast. Yeah. The radio broadcast that we heard on CFL Plus. This is what I do know. That's a brand new play-by-play person, Dave Thomas, who took over for Michael Ball who 2 years ago took over for Derek Taylor, who's now here in Winnipeg, of course. So Dave Thomas, his first game, didn't have the name of a couple guys, including Adams, the receiver that you really liked, 74. Well, that's because Tyler Adams wasn't on the depth chart the Blue Bombers put out. So a lot of these things people will just immediately blame somebody for. It's preseason for everybody. I thought it was the Bombers played sloppy, but it was a well-played football game. It was a well-officiated football game. It was a well-broadcast football game. So, I don't know if I necessarily have a Westwood wide to the right specifically today, but I did enjoy being able to watch this game. You got to kind of, put things into perspective. This game
absolutely, because we didn't get to watch all the preseason games before. I mean, this is a huge advantage as a fan to be able to watch. And you know what? If you don't like the opposing team's broadcast, just mute it and play CJOB. That's what I did. And I had CJOB going. I had Darrin texting, and I was texting Darrin. It was great. I won't say anything about Ballsy. Anyway, I do want to say, if I can steal your Westwood's Wides to the Right, the CFL should have the stats thing down by now. Don't you think? They didn't get it right all last year. They've had a whole off season. Why do they bring less officials to mark the stats? I don't know in preseason, but why couldn't they get it down? It's a joke.
I will always say it like it is. Okay. I generally give the CFL the benefit of the doubt. I know a lot of people there. I work closely with them, both with Bonfire, with Canadian Prep, wherever I might be working on a day-to-day basis, including working for the Canadian Football League.
I was going to say, you've worked for them for the playoffs, buddy.
Yeah. And, love the people there, but I will call it like it is. It was last June 2023, Commissioner Randy Ambrosie stood in the press conference room at IG Field at the time and said to our faces, the stats will be straightened out by July. This was June of 2023. He said the stats will be straightened out by July. Was that July 1st? Was that July 31st? Is there 31 days in July? I don't know.
There are.
We'll give him an extra day.
Right.
We'll give him an extra day. Make it the 31st. I'm now told that they will not have the stats completely straightened out, like all the historical stats and everything online, until the end of this year.
No.
So when he said a month, a year ago, he said it'll be a month. And now it's a year later and it's going to be another 6 months.
No.
Incredible.
How does that even happen? It's not that hard.
I don't know.
It can't be that hard.
Yeah. I'll just leave it at that. We'll just leave it at that. Okay. We've gone through the Burning Point, Wallabies Warrior, Westwood's Wide to the Right, the Happy Honker Award tonight. And of course, Schnitzy, it wouldn't be a happy honker unless played the sound effect.
I for those of you listening on podcasts, I just, did a little, squeezing of the horn there. That didn't sound good. Anyway, buddy, my happy honker is an easy one. It's so easy. It was so, I was like, it's served up to me on a platter. I was like, getting a little nervous. Am I in preseason form too? Do I know my stuff this year? Am I going to fumble my words? No, I'm not going to fumble this one because it was served up on a platter. When Antonio Pipkin, the backup quarterback for the Riders, was escorted out of bounds, who does he run into and get absolutely smoked? But Willie Jefferson didn't lean into him. He didn't hit him. He just stood his ground. Pipkin runs into Jefferson and just gets dropped on the sideline. And apparently the Rider play-by-play guys were just miffed over this. They thought that he nailed him. All Jefferson did was just stand there, DB. He just stood there, and he's such a big, powerful guy that Pipkin just went to the deck and barely got up. And for me, that was my happy honker. A lighthearted, funny, amusing point in the game that I was glad to see.
I like that. Before I give my happy honker, because I'm kind of stuck for one today. I don't know. Westwood Wide to the Right, missing out on meeting Darrin, last Monday at Trans-Canada Brewing. I was there.
Oh, no way.
Yes,
You
waiters.
didn't tell me.
There.
You didn't invite me.
I was there as well. Well, I was invited. I wasn't handing out invites. It was Kenny
You
and
were
Rennie.
probably out on a hot date. Oh, Kenny and Rennie.
Yeah. But amazing turnout. Great talking to so many people there. I think I met Kyle Sansergret on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
At least I think that's his Twitter. He had like Kyle all caps or something. Anyway, great seeing so many people there talking hockey, talking football, amongst all the local media and fans and everybody. It was awesome. Waiters, come on, man. You got to track me down. I want to meet you.
We got
a whole bunch of people I want to meet.
Waiters.
Maybe we'll meet them on the bus to Labor Day.
Ooh, can we give that a little bit of a shout out or what?
What bus?
Not the short bus.
What bus?
Well, what is it called? The crew?
The 1930 crew. So
1930 crew.
You can find it on the Bonfire Instagram and Twitter, but just look, especially on Instagram, just look for the 1930 crew. It is a group of us. There is a bus. Hustler will host one of the buses. There's a Bonfire bus or a Bomber bus. I guess I would be Bomber in that case, right? At least that's what it says down on the screen. That we're going to have with Bonfire people and Winnipeg Sports Talk people and just all types of Bomber fans going to the Labor Day Classic. It's a all-inclusive package. There's food, there's drinks, there is party favors, there's special stops along the way, driving there and coming back. Some meals are included. Your hotel with double occupancy or quad occupancy. Be sure to check them out.
And tickets, of course.
Yeah. The 1930 crew is what they're called.
Yeah,
what is that? The 1930 crew is, well, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers were formed in 1930. The 1930 crew. Keep it locked to the Instagram and you'll be able to get in there.
Oh, I'm so excited. My first time ever to the Labor Day Classic, and I'll be going in style with you.
Yep. I like this. Schnitzy, this is where I invited you last year. We went to the Winnipeg Sports Talk Gold Eyes game last summer and met tons of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. We'll do that again. Ish your boy better be on the Bomber bus.
Absolutely.
Can
you request which bus to go on? I assume you can request. I say I want to go on the Bomber bus.
I can imagine.
I'll be on that bus.
Yeah,
we'll
talk some football. We'll have fun. Maybe I'll even crack one. Yeah. We'll see.
You will crack one.
Let's get into your game balls, Zach Schnitzer. Don't bankrupt me, okay? I spent all my money on all these footballs here. Okay.
I saw that. You got your game balls already.
Yeah, I didn't buy one of those balls, by the way. But, however,
you did?
Oh no, that's a lie. I bought one of these balls.
Well, they're expensive. You probably could only afford one of those
football
games as much as me. Have you ever tried to buy a CFL football from the Bomber store? They're like $100.
They can be
ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple special ones back here. Like, I don't know if you can see, like this one with the white on it. That's like the 2019 Grey Cup, like with the final score and the location and everything. But yeah, when you hang around football stadiums as much as me, they kind of just fall into your possession.
I wish.
Who knows? Maybe I'll give some away on Bonfire.
Can you gift me one of your balls, please?
One of my footballs?
Yes.
Excuse me?
I'm not in preseason form. I'm in midseason form, buddy. I am not going to give out 50 game balls like last year. I'm not going to be Oprah Winfrey. You get a ball. You get a ball. I have one game ball today. Can I go first? I guess I should have asked.
Yeah, I'm waiting. We're all waiting.
Speaking of stats, I actually have his stats because I looked them up before they someone had a brownout, whatever website I used. Chris Streveler gets my game ball.
Good pick.
Thrilled to see Chris Streveler back in blue and gold. Like I said, had he played for us the last couple of years instead of bouncing around the NFL DB, I think we win those Grey Cups. And that's the last time I'm going to mention the previous year's Grey Cups. He was 7 of 8 for 65 yards. My favorite play of the night was where he did a rollout to his right. He let the DB come up to him and he just lofted it over his head, kind of like an extended screenplay to Johnny Augustine for a big chunk of yards. I just think it's plays like that. It's the RPOs. It's the misdirection. It's the change of pace that he brings. He's not your typical second stringer. He's a 1B. Hey, He may even get 2 quarterbacks on the field at the same time this year, DB, with him and Collaros. Who knows?
Yep.
But I just think he brings such a dangerous element to the Bomber offense. It's already hard to stop Collaros and company. They had the most yards last year. They had the most touchdowns. They had the most everything, first downs. But you're just you already stay up into the wee hours studying film. Now you have to study film on Streveler too, and all the different things he can do. He can run. He can hand it off. He can pass. He can fake the handoff and then run. It's just the sky's the limit for what the offense can do this year. And I think Buck Pierce is getting more comfortable calling games and calling plays. I'm really excited about the offense with Streveler in it. And I saw he had flashes. He had 3 carries for 25 yards. That's like how many average is that? 3. That's like almost a 9-yard average, 8 yard.
Don't
average.
ask me to do math.
8.5 yard.
80
8.5
minutes
yard
into
average.
a post-game show, okay?
8.5 yard average is pretty darn good.
No question.
Yeah.
No question it is. Craig Smith says he's got a football from the 1991 Grey Cup, which was Winnipeg's first
yeah.
the host city. Spalding J5V. I don't know if you guys can see. Let's see if I can. Here, you know what? Do this.
Close up on your balls, Darren.
You know, it's hidden. It's behind that plant. I have a Spalding J5V from the, I think it's like minor football or junior football. I think it's a CJFL football from like the 80s or 90s or something like that. Doesn't hold air. It's just flattened right out. Craig, I'll be sure to show you that one. Probably not as cool as your football from the 1991 Grey Cup in Winnipeg. But of course, the 91 Grey Cup, that's the throw a beer at Rocket Ishmael returning the kick, right?
Classic.
Ooh, real classic. You know what? I confirmed 17 people who say they threw that beer. It's confirmed. Everybody threw that beer, right? Oh, it was me.
It was me.
No, probably not. Probably wasn't you. My game balls, you know what? I think I'll probably stick with just one game. I'll give 2. I'll give one to Terry Wilson. I like the way he threw the football late in the game, like in the last few minutes, threw some darts downfield, looked confident. Just the body language in the pocket looked really nice. Terry Wilson showed me in the game today what he showed me in training camp, and that is the ability to make some things happen. I really like Terry Wilson at quarterback for the Bombers, number 3. Good number, by the way. And my next game ball, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm going to give it to Sergio Castillo.
Oh, yeah. We didn't mention his 53-yard field goal.
Nice stroke today from 53. I like that a lot.
You know who really struggled? I'm going off topic here, but I meant to mention it earlier, Darren. But speaking of 53-yard field goals, Brett Lawler looked like he was a preseason form. He misses a 53-yarder, which is fair. He missed a 40-yarder, and he shanked badly on a point after attempt.
For real?
Yeah, he looked rough today.
I like Brett Lawler as a player. Yeah, I think he's a very talented player.
Yeah, he is.
Really good kicker. I'd take him on my team any day. So it just goes to show, it doesn't matter who you are. Preseason's preseason. Home, away, next to starters. You're a kicker. It doesn't really matter. He had his holder there, right?
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that's the way it goes. Final thoughts from you, Zach Schnitzer, as we wrap up the maiden voyage here on 2024 Game Day After Dark.
It was just nice to watch CFL football again, DB,
yes,
right? Wasn't it? I mean, I think we're lucky to be able to see all of these games televised. And I am kind of glad, as much as I'm glad it was nice to see this game, I'm glad it's over too, because now we can look forward to a home preseason game. You're going to see some more starters. There's going to be more clarity in terms of who the third string quarterback is, and who, they're going to make a lot of cuts of guys who just didn't do a day. And so you're going to see higher quality guys. You're going to see more starters next game. So I'm excited about that, buddy. May 31st.
Yeah.
7:30 the Madhouse.
Yes, the Madhouse. Is it Investors Group IG Field, Princess Auto Stadium? No, it's the Madhouse on Matheson.
That's right.
Just a couple of the top, I didn't catch them all, but the ones that I did, the top comments in the live chat today. Jeffrey Townsend, did anyone notice if anyone was wearing the added head protection in the game, the Guardian caps? No, I didn't see any Guardian caps today. That'll be, I'm really curious about how that's going to shake out. Maybe we won't get into it today, but I touched on it with Walby yesterday on the pregame show. There's some legal things at play here. The NFL, the CFL, player safety, liability, all of those things. I'll just leave it at that. Jeff Cabilas, I'm bummed I didn't get a chance to talk to you at Trans Canada the other day. Quote, give me one of your balls, DB, says Zach. Save that for Bonfire After Dark. This is Bonfire After Dark. That we're going to do all year long. Schnitzy, I'm so friggin' pumped, man. You, me, everybody, all of you out there, all of us, gather around the bonfire after every single Blue Bombers game. Preseason, regular season, postseason, the Grey Cup, home, away, whatever it may be. Bonfire Sports has you covered as Blue Bombers fans. If you're interested in getting your message out for your small business or whatever it may be, hit up the Bonfire hotline. Get at me on Twitter. Send me a DM, whatever. Bonfire hotline, of course, 816-TIPS. 816-8477. 204-816-8477. You can call, you can text, leave a voicemail, drop a line. Let me know. We're selling sponsorship packages on the program this year. But pregame with Chris Welby, as we always do, the day before the game. So you can watch it anytime. The day before the game, the night before the game, the morning of the game, right up till game time. Heck, you could even go back. It's still good to watch right now, right? Because it was a preseason game. So you can get Chris Walby's perspective on a whole bunch of things. Schnitzy, I know you're addicted. You'll like listen to the pod, and then you'll go back later and you'll watch the video, and you'll send me clips and give the thumbs up, and you won't get into the comments, but you send me comments. People got to comment.
I freaking love the comments. Great comments, but I'm worried about where's Transcona Polly? T. Kona Polly and his cap locks. I hope he's okay. Great guy. We met him at the Gold Eyes game last year. We should do an event like that. Yeah. Meet all of our listeners. It'd be super fun. But yeah, I hope he's okay because I missed him on the chat here.
Gregory remembers the Bonfire hotline. Standard rate supply. Just like you texting your mama. You send your mama a text, whatever that costs you.
Every day.
Text the Bonfire hotline. 204-816-TIPS. 816-8477. Tips, plural. Not just the tip. Tips. You got it.
Jesus, Darrin.
Game day after dark, baby. Let's go. Let's go. 2024.
I thought I was the one who pushed the envelope here, not you.
Hey, why not? Why not? It's still light outside, but it's late. It's late. I'm excited, good, man. Buddy. I'm full of it. I'm full of all types of things, all types of lemonade.
All types of beans.
Beans, yes. Crazy beans.
Crazy beans, buddy.
See, there's another dirty joke in there. Man, oh man.
Probably somewhere. I don't know.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Thanks everybody out there for watching. We will do this again every single game, so you know where to find us. Get on your podcast app, subscribe, appreciate that. Get into the comments and hit that thumbs up. Over 600 people watching live. Just awesome. Hey, there's Hammy watching live on Instagram. What's going on, Hammy?
No way. Who invited that guy?
Yeah, who invited that guy?
Who invited that guy?
Yeah, you're gonna be back on the Bombers beat in no time, man. I know you got some very, very awesome things cooking. But yeah, we'll leave it on this. Bonfire Sports, now rated R. Well, rated R if you have a sense of humor or like, a sick sense of humor.
Not NC-17 though.
No. Maybe. We'll see.
I actually don't even remember what NC-17 means, but I remember it means came out.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the NC stands for, but it's like age 17 and up.
So it's worse than R-rated.
Yeah. But on that note, Schnitzy, as we always do, I let you sign us off here of Game Day After Dark on Bonfire Sports.
Yes, as always, everybody, sayonara.